Good morning. Today we are going to see about the steps of social research in social sciences. First of all, we want to know about what is research. Searching, that is repeatedly searching about a problem to get knowledge, is research. In research, in physical sciences and social sciences, in physical sciences it varies. 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. In every region and in all over the world, it exists the same answer, 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. But in social sciences, the result is differ. Because in social sciences, the humanity peoples, from region to region, society to society, it varies. So it is very important to know the steps of social research, what are the procedures we have to follow to get the accurate result or findings in the social research. We can see one by one. Steps of social research. Number 1, formulation or selection of research problem. The first point is selection of research problem. To identify a research, the researcher has to find out the research problem. There are many problems in our society. The researcher has to identify what he is going to study and in which area he is going to study. So, identification of problem and selection of study area. These two are important in selection of research problem. Topic is different from research problem. For example, unemployment is a research problem. Unemployment is, we are going to study the unemployment problem. In which area you are going to study? That is study area. Whether unemployment in Chennai or unemployment in Madurai or in New Delhi, what is the study area you are going to select? So, selection of research problem, it should be clean. Where you are going to study, what problem you are going to study. So, the first step of the social research is to identification of problem and selection of study area. Number 2, review of literature. After selecting the research problem, you have to go for knowledge, attaining the knowledge, because the researcher is not expert in the research problem. So to expertise him, he has to go for review of literature. For review of literature, he can go through books, journals, magazines, and previous records, previous studies, etc. He can also meet the experts to get the more theoretical knowledge and practical difficulties in conducting the research. So review of literature will make the researcher to expertise in the field and to do the research with effectively. After going for the review of literature, the third point is hypothesis. Formulating hypothesis. Hypothesis, it is a tentative statement which relates one or more variables. For example, smoking leads to cancer. Here, smoking leads to cancer. Dependent variable, independent variable. We have to identify the dependent variable and independent variable. So if there is relation between the two or more variables or one or two variables, that should be identified with the help of the hypothesis. The main purpose of the hypothesis is to test the tentative statement, whether it is true or false. And there is a null hypothesis. If there is no relation, it is called as null hypothesis. So after completing this step, we will pass on to the next one, that is selection of research design. The fourth step is selection of research design. Design is a plan of action. Before you are going to conduct a research, we have to plan what are you going to do, and by the designing or by the plan of action, you can save your money, you can save the time and all resources. In the research design, you have 4 types of research designs are there. In that, descriptive, diagnosis, explorative, and experimental. From these 4 types of research design, you have to identify which will be the appropriate research design for your research study. For example, descriptive research design, which describe the area of research problem in your area. Diagnosis, by the word diagnosis, it tries to find out the solution for the research problem. And explorative research design, it explores the hidden problems and try to find out the solution. And experimental research, it conduct the experiment to 2 groups, control group and experimental group, and find out the cause-effect relationship in the research problem. So the researcher have to identify which research design will more helpful for or more appropriate for his research problem. After selection of the research design, we are passing to the next one, is selection of sample. Sample is a part of universe. Universe means total number of population. And sample is a part of population. For example, 25% of population you are going to study, then that is your sample size. Due to the time constraint and economic point of view, we cannot study all the total number of population in a study area. So we will go for sample. Sample will represent the whole universe. And in that, we have to find out the sample. We have types of sampling. Probability and non-probability. In probability, we have simple random sampling, then systematic random sampling, stratified random sampling, and cluster sampling. There are 4 types of probability sampling: simple random sampling, systematic random sampling, stratified random sampling, and cluster sampling. Similarly, non-probability sampling, you have accidental, then quota sampling, judgment sampling, then snowball sampling method. So, probability sampling, which gives equal chance from the universe to represent the sample, but non-probability sampling will not give equal chance to select the respondents from the universe. So, both sampling procedures are highly utilized in selecting the sample. Simple random sampling, it's widely used if the population is very high. Randomly you will select the sample from the total universe. Systematic sampling method is you will select a number through simple random sampling method. For example, if you want to study 100 students in a college, you will if there is 1000 students are studying in a college, you are going to select the 100 students, then every 10 students is your sample. So systematically you go for 10, 20, 30 like that. And stratified random sampling method is you will stratify the whole universe into different strata. From that strata you will go for the sampling procedure. And finally, cluster sampling method. The cluster sampling method will highlight that divide the whole country into state, state into district, district into panchayat, like that you will find out your village. From that you will go for sampling procedure. And in non-probability sampling, accidental sampling method, the researcher will find out the respondent who is very good in, who is appropriate for his research, he will select, and accidentally the sampling method will be followed. Then quota sampling method, you will fix the number of respondents for your study. Till you attain the quota, you will go for the research. Then judgmental sampling, you will do to your convenient, and you will try to find out the appropriate research methods, find out the correct persons for your studies. And finally, snowball sampling method. In the snowball sampling method, it is very difficult to find out the respondents. For example, terrorist or AIDS or some unidentified respondents. So if you find out a person or a respondent, it's like a chain process, you will go by one. So snowball sampling is used in unidentified respondent. It's a challenging research will comes under the snowball sampling method. Then we can move on to the next one. Tools of data collection. After selecting the research problem through the review of literature, you have framed the hypothesis, then you went to the design of action, that is which research design is appropriate for your study. Then after that you have find out the sample through the sampling, the types of sampling. Next one is tools of data collection. In tools of data collection, there is interview schedule method, questionnaire, then case study, then focus group study, etc. Before going to this tools of data collection, you want to know about what are the interview methods are in social research highly followed. In interview, structured, semi-structured, and unstructured. Okay. Structured interview method, you will have the questions you will not add any questions after you prepare the questionnaire. But in semi-structured, you will set up some questions, and while doing the research or interviewing the research respondent, you will try to add some questions. And unstructured questions, totally it's an interaction between the researcher and the respondents. And interview schedule. If the respondents are not thorough or knowledgeable in the research field, the researcher has to explain the questions and get the answers. He have to write and he have to ask the question and write the answers by himself. Questionnaire, he will identify the respondent who are expertise in the field. So he can give the questions through to the home, or he can post and get the responses once they filled. But case study is a descriptive qualitative method which is used in social research. Each case is a historical or history of cases of a respondent. From past to present, all the data will be collected in the case study method. And focus group method, in research area, who are the persons, who are the respondents, it will be formed as a group discussion. From that, what are the objectives you want to know, you can make a discussion and collect the data. Then observation method, here we can follow the two methods, participant and non-participant. If a researcher wants to study about the marriage practices in India, then if he is following the participant observation method, he will involve in the ceremonies, customs, which is followed in the rituals followed in the marriage practices. And by mingle with them, he will collect all the data. He will observe all the things. But in non-participant observation method, he will sit like a audience and watch all the things. He will not participate in any events. This is non-participant observation method. The next step is data analysis. After the data collection, before going to data analysis, the data should be corrected because it is a raw data. So the data should be go for editing, coding, then grouping, then tabulation. Okay, so before going for data analysis, the data should be edited. Edited means that is checking whether all the questions have been answered, and if there is any correction, it has to be inculcated. Then coding, you should prepare the code book. All the qualitative answers should be quantified, and with that code book and coding, you can group the data. Then finally, it will become as a tabulation. And we can analyze this through diagrammatic representation and graphical representation. These two, diagrammatic representation and graphical representation, will help the layman to know what are your findings. It is easy to find out the research findings easily. And final step of the research is summary of findings and conclusion. After finding the research findings, we have to give interpretation and relate with the sociological theories. That is, we can go for particular to general or general to particular research. Based on that, we will conclude the research problem. We can give suggestions and we can also give recommendations to solve the problem in future. With this, I finish the steps of social research, and if you have any doubts, you can ask me. And steps of social research is widely used for not only for UG dissertation or PG dissertation, it will be more helpful for your PhD program also. So it is very important to know about the steps of social research, not only for examination perspective, but it will be useful for your research also. Thank you.